Marijuana becomes legal in Maryland in just 2 days, but how will it impact the workplace? What you can expect as employers navigate new laws.
Will employers soon allow weed at work? We're answering your biggest questions as legislation starts in Maryland in just 2 days.
In 2 days, adults in Maryland will be able to buy marijuana from legal recreational dispensaries, and business owners say they're expecting huge demand. Restrictions for the past 5 years, though, have limited the legal purchase of marijuana to only those with the prescription. As vendors prepare for a busy weekend, so are Maryland lawmakers who say they are considering a law to keep dispensaries from marketing to children.
Both tobacco and alcohol, we took things that are potentially dangerous, and then we let people glamorize them for the sole purpose of driving people to become customers of these things. So we shouldn't make this mistake again.
Financial analysts predict the legalization of cannabis could generate $135 million in tax revenue. Steve?
All right, a lot of money on the table, but a lot of questions as well. And a lot of you might question, well, what about my workplace policies? You have to leave everything at home or not? Well, Darla McClure is an employment law attorney at Stein Sperling here with the blunt truth, we'll say. Thanks for coming in today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
What kind of questions are you getting from employers? What's the most prevalent question?
Right. So my clients that already have like no tolerance drug and alcohol policies and that do drug testing are calling me saying, what now? Can I still drug test? And the answer is yes. In Maryland, you can still drug test. There's 3 types of drug testing that typically happens. It's precondition of employment, right? You have to pass a drug test before you get hired. There's random testing, which is a lottery, they pick people out at random to test them, and then there is a workplace accident. So a workplace accident occurs, and they send their employee to a drug test.
Right. So the takeaway here for employees is just because the law says recreational use is allowed, that doesn't change your boss from saying you can't do it if that's the workplace policy, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So what difference does it make then as far as when you break down the levels, right? And I am assuming that this is in part because there's still a federal law in place. Is that where this all comes back to?
Correct. So federal law still does not allow marijuana in the workplace or anywhere. The Drug-Free Workplace Act, it's a Schedule I drug. It's illegal. But now that states are legalizing it, first for medical use and now for recreational use, it's getting difficult and more confusing for employers, right? Can I drug test? Can I still have a no tolerance policy? And how does that affect employees that have a medical marijuana card?
Do you expect there to be challenges now that this is open if an employee says, well, listen, I mean, if this is something that's been on my system for days, it could have been something I did on my off-the-clock activities, a weekend activity or something like that. How do you work that into the equation?
And that's going to be the difficult part, right? So some of my clients are saying, we're going to drop marijuana from the precondition employment testing, right? We're going to just drop that altogether because the applicant pool, now that it's legal, is going to be shrinking, okay? And so what we're going to continue to do is that if there's a workplace accident, we're going to test you. And if you come up positive for marijuana, you could suffer an adverse action, right? You can be disciplined, you could be terminated. But the problem is was that employee impaired at the time of the accident, or was it just in their system because over the weekend they smoked some pot?
Right. So do you see this eventually kind of falling in line with a lot of alcohol policies? I mean, alcohol is legal, right? But if you're under the influence at work, then that is therefore an issue. Do you see marijuana eventually falling under the same type of system?
I do. I see, clients that are dropping the drug test for marijuana specifically is going to continue to treat it just as they have alcohol. Don't bring it into the workplace. Don't come to work impaired or under the influence.
How long does it typically take, since you've been doing this for a while, if you have a change in the law like this, right? So the law changes on Saturday. People that want to take advantage of it are like, okay, this is our day. We can take advantage of it. How long does it typically take for a work policy to change?
Right. So the problem is some employers just don't know, right? They don't have access to an attorney to call, but my clients will pick up the phone and say, look, Darla, what's going on? I hear this pot is becoming legal July 1, what can I do to get ahead of it? And so I'm working with my clients to say, okay, let's look at your policies. Let's decide what's best for you, because the ones that are deciding to drop it, just as there's just as much on the other side that are saying, well, I can't drop it, right? You know, it's the culture, it's the way that we operate, it's the type of business we are. You know, at Stein Sperling, we have clients in all different industries. It's retail, it's IT, it's professional services, it's healthcare.
And this doesn't make a difference if it's a small business or a large business, right? Number of employees doesn't come into play?
No.
Interesting. All right, if folks want to find you or find out more information, what do you recommend?
Just reach out to us. It's we have a website, steinsperling.com, and feel free to click on my bio and reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to anybody that has questions or concerns.
Yeah. All right, no doubt about it. And that'll help out the employers out there. And again, for the employees, just because it's legal doesn't mean you're going to get away with it at work if that's the policy your employer has in place. Darla, thanks so much for coming in. I appreciate it.